This year's Victory Day takes on new meaning in Bangladesh. 4 months after Sheikh Hasina and her Awami League party were deposed, some Bangladeshis are celebrating their country's second liberation. Half a century after independence from Pakistan, are we witnessing a truly new Bangladesh? Or could political retribution prevent real progress? I'm Andrea Sankey, and today's Newsmaker is Bangladesh. It's been a monumental year for Bangladesh. In August, the world's longest-serving female head of state was overthrown after months of protests, leading to immediate fears of a military takeover. But instead, an interim government under Nobel Prize winner Muhammad Yunus has led the country more or less peacefully since then. And now, Bangladeshis are celebrating 54 years of independence from Pakistan, which is slightly ironic given the party and person largely credited with securing that independence is Sheikh Hasina's father and her Awami League. So, how is Bangladesh reconciling its past with its future on Victory Day? And will the ongoing transition toward free elections remain peaceful? Here's a look.
Bangladesh is celebrating Victory Day, marking its independence from Pakistan in 1971. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was the leader of the country's fight for freedom. But 54 years later, his daughter, Sheikh Hasina's dramatic ouster, was called Bangladesh's second liberation. Under Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus's interim rule, the South Asian nation is still rebuilding its new chapter. Addressing the country on Victory Day, Yunus described the Hasina regime as the world's most autocratic and announced his plan for the next general election.
Throughout, I have emphasized that reforms should take place first before arrangements for an election. If we add the expected reforms in terms of electoral process with this, based on national unity and recommendations made by the Electoral Reform Commission, then it might take at least 6 more months. Largely, it can be said that the time for the election can be fixed from the end of 2025 to the first half of 2026.
It would be the first after 15 years of Awami League rule. Protests sparked by the government's job quota reform soon turned into a revolt against Hasina's growing authoritarian rule. The government responded with a brutal crackdown, but Hasina couldn't hold on to power and fled to India in August. Weeks of violence killed more than 1,000 people and left many with serious injuries, and victims and their relatives are still seeking justice.
He was my only son. He was supposed to go to Japan to study this December. How can we take this pain of losing our son? Nothing can be heavier than the body of a son on a father's shoulders.
The caretaker government says they are determined to bring perpetrators to justice. More than a dozen former officials have been charged with enabling massacres, and the ex-police chief is accused of crimes against humanity.
Committing genocide and crimes against humanity ensures you won't stay in power for long, and one must face justice. Seeing today's proceedings in court, those who dream of becoming autocrats in the future of Bangladesh will learn a lesson.
The court also seeks Hasina's extradition from India as she faces similar charges. The two neighbours were once close allies, but relations have soured since Hasina's ouster in August. And in November, Hindu protests over religious leader Chimnoy Krishna Das's arrest on sedition charges led to violent clashes and tit-for-tat attacks between the communities. India has raised concern about what it called a surge of extremist rhetoric and violence against the Hindu minorities in Bangladesh. But Dhaka has accused New Delhi of exacerbating the situation and asked not to interfere with the country's internal affairs.
In some cases, they were subjected to violence. However, the narrative surrounding these incidents were completely exaggerated. The few incidents of violence that did occur were primarily political in nature. But these incidents were given a religious facade to destabilize Bangladesh once again.
This is one of many challenges that Yunus seeks to address. While the people are yearning for justice, peace, and economic prosperity, Bangladesh is trying to reconcile with Hasina's reign.
Well, joining me now to look at Bangladesh today and where it's going Zohar from London, Human Rights Secretary at the UK Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or BNP, Hossein Shamsu-Zoha. Also from London, Acting General Secretary of Awami League Lawyers UK, Monirul Islam. And from Dhaka, Professor in the Department of International Relations at Jahangir University, Shahab Khan. Thanks all so much for being with me. Shahab, I'll start with you, and let's start with Victory Day. And I'll ask if or how much you're celebrating, because this is supposed to be a day of unity to honor independence. So is the country feeling unified on this 54th anniversary?
Absolutely. I think we are all unified. People are rejoicing. The streets are full of celebration. I think the business as usual is very much there. And most importantly, we feel a sense of unity among all the people who has been in the street, who has been fighting for democracy, or perhaps who has been a part of Great Liberation War back in 1971. So we get a sense of the return of normalcy. We get a sense of people hugging each other. As you see, people are celebrating not only the independence of 1971 and what we often call, what Dr. Yunus and others would call as the Bangladesh 2.0. So therefore, I think people are very happy at the moment.
Okay, let me ask, actually, I'm going to go to Monirul for this, because it regards what some would say is the kind of irony that the Awami League and its leader were actually responsible for Bangladesh's independence from Pakistan. So do you feel the same sense of unity brewing and the same involvement of all parties around the celebration of Victory Day today and where the country stands?
Thank you very much, and welcome to the viewers all over the world. I totally disagree with him with due respect, because I have information that a lot of my people, that means in every rural area, mic has been taken away, speaker have been taken away, they have been beaten. Lot of people have been arrested even on the day of Independence Day who are pro-Awami League. They are trying to celebrate the Independence Day. You know, the day before yesterday, it was the Intellectual Martyrs Day. The observation was 10% compared with the previous year. If this year, you know, the population size of Bangladesh is 180 million, some people say 200 million. People, a fraction of the people is celebrating the Independence Day because government is not patronizing the people. If you take the picture of the Independence Day 5 years back, 2 years back, every corner of the Dhaka city, every corner of the street, you will see that there are loads of cars, trucks, and the people singing, people waving the the national flag, people, the recorded version of the Mujib statement was everywhere. Nothing is there. If you see that the government said it is the December celebration rather than Victory Day celebration, then some of our intellectual protest, then government change it. Okay. Because they believe that Independence Day is 5th of August in 2024, not the 71. Dr. Yunus, who is in power now, he said he want to reset the button. When BNP was in power, Awami League was in power, because Awami League, led the independence of 1971. BNP's founding president, Ziaur Rahman, he was one of the freedom fighters and he was the sector commander. That's why BNP also celebrated the Independence Day in the same land. But the current president, current prime minister, or the head of the state is not pro-independence.
Okay, before you go to, let me get Zoha's opinion really on the same question. I mean, what is your feeling around the general unity of the country on this day with its history right now?
Thank you for the questions. Currently, the whole country are united and the people are celebrating the Independence Day. The Independence Day, the celebration of the Independence Day has been even heightened because of the fact that the fascist regime has fled, has left the country, and people are free. Let's say your other guest said it has not been celebrated as it is to be celebrated under Awami League. I do not agree with that, simply because people had no right to speak out before. You know, what is the purpose of Victory Day? The purpose is that I am victorious. I can say things what I want to, and without fear. Unfortunately, for the last 15 years or 16 years, people couldn't do that. So what Professor Khan said, I wholeheartedly agree with him, and I say that people are united, people are enjoying their freedoms and their rights, and they are enjoying their celebration. So I disagree with what Mr. Munir Islam said, and I say that this is an amazing atmosphere in Bangladesh.
Okay, well, let me go back to Bangladesh, back to Dhaka. And Shahab, I'll ask you again about the sense of peace in the country, because there have been fears around people seeking political revenge and persecuting minorities as well. We've heard some reports already that Hindus are particularly concerned. So how much of that has materialized, and have the youth as well and student leaders in Bangladesh, are they happy? Have they gotten, I guess, what they've wanted for leading the movement that took Sheikh Hasina down?
I think this is a brilliant question. The first point is 16 December is an apolitical celebration. This is for everyone. This is not for one particular political party, and we should not be hanging ourselves to the past and make it very political stuff. And I think the current atmosphere that you get to see is highly apolitical, and people are supercharged. Now, going back to your question, I think the main problem is that some media in our neighborhood constantly portrays that communal violence is at its heightened stage. I don't think that is absolutely correct, and the government has made its position very clear. The youth, all the political parties, particularly those who are in the surface, not in hiding, has made it absolutely clear that they want to protect the minorities and everyone. And that has been on display everywhere. This is the first thing. Second problem that we get to see, that the politicization of identity, largely coming from the neighborhood, not from Bangladesh itself. Look at the Hindu community over here. Many of the Hindu communities have expressed that they're perfectly fine. And if you look at the other communities, they're perfectly fine. And I think when on the eve of the 5th of August, when we saw a dramatic change in Bangladesh's political atmosphere, we had virtually seen that law enforcement agencies disappeared for the next 2-3 days. Look at the level of violence is absolutely phenomenally low than compared to any Western countries or much developed countries than Bangladesh. So what does it mean? It means that the resilience of general people to protect the communal people from communal violence or indiscriminate violence was very much high. I'm particularly sympathetic to few of the events that has happened, which has involved the minorities. But that was largely the political grievances of the mass people. And if you want to label them a political entity, probably that is the worst mistake we will do in our history. Rather, I have seen that any people, just regular people, went all the way to protect the communal people. But of course, they had their revenge to take against those who has persecuted many people for many years. And now you're seeing a lot of reports coming up on a daily basis. I mean, these are not coming from Bangladesh itself. It's coming from the international community too. So I think the youth are very much in charge of the current state of scenario in Bangladesh. They're pretty optimistic about the changes that we expect to see. And then, of course, the people in general are pretty much hoping to return to functional democracy at some point of time,
right,
for which they're willing to give support to the interim government.
Okay,
and I think that's a brilliant thing that is happening.
Let me ask Monirul if you feel the same, especially in the description that the atmosphere is, especially today, relatively apolitical, that minorities are actually being protected, that the youth is ready to take charge? I mean, and does that mean Bangladeshis are truly looking forward to elections that are supposed to be likely in a year's time, and that they do believe these will be free and fair?
Thank you very much. You know, the minority issue is very vibrant issue in Bangladesh. If you see that 1971, when Bangladesh gained independence, the minority people, actually the Hindu people, was in our country around 30 to 34%. If you see the statistic today, it is less than 10%. Where those people go? Those people have been systematically destroyed. They have been driven to go to India or other parts of the country. Why? Because, you know, the Bangladesh, surface of Bangladesh, political atmosphere, whether in Awami League, whether in BNP, whether in any other party, the minority are not protected. But Bangladesh Awami League always tried to protect them rather than other people, other political party, you know, whatever they did. Bangladesh Awami League tried to empower them, give them power, give them freedom, give them, you know, the opportunity to make their life better as they can stay in the country. So this is not something I am telling. You can check the history of Bangladesh, that what is the percentage of the people. If you see that the Hindu priest, Chinmoy was arrested. What is his fault? The fault is that there was a flag issue. He sometime did something. Flag was I don't know why, but lot of people who are in government now, they are doing every day in constitutional law. That's no treason. But the Hindu people, they brought the issue of treason. So.
Okay, it looks like we have some trouble with Monirul's line, but let me go to Zoha then, because as per what Monirul was saying, and he believes there is, that, you know, Hindus do feel that they are in danger, that they are being discriminated against, and that's why so many of them have fled, and this is ongoing. So in that, can you talk a little bit about what the relationship with India actually is now? I mean, it's a pro-Awami League government, but still under Hindu nationalist leadership. So, but it's an incredibly important relationship, needless to say, with some $14 billion in trade, you know, over 2023, 2024. Where is that relationship going, and how fundamental is it to Bangladesh?
Before I answer this question, can I just quickly highlight a point where Mr. Islam said that a certain amount or certain figure of people, the minorities, have left Bangladesh because they have been ruined and they have been persecuted, in his view, and then they have to leave and go to India. Now, I totally disagree with this point. This is very shameful for any Bangladeshi to accept it. And to say it in international media like TRT, I do not even understand how a member of a fascist party say this, whereas Awami League is a party who ruled Bangladesh 24 years out of 53 years of independence. Now, if there is actually persecution of the Hindus, who committed the persecution? It is the Awami Leaguers. They are the ones who committed it. And they are the ones who ruled Bangladesh for 24 years. Since the independence, majority of the time, it is Awami League who ruled. So who is responsible for this? It is them who is responsible, who seems to be the protector, actually are the perpetrator. So it's a shame to say for any Bangladeshi to come out and say the minorities in our country are, persecuted. It's a very big shame. I'm not personally attacking Mr. Islam, but this is how the fascist regime worked. They used to instigate, some sort of story, propaganda, and they used to invite India's help so that the India can assist them in propagating that theories, that stories, false stories. And also regarding Mr. Chinmoy Das, obviously a criminal offense has been committed, that is being tried. And this is not a kangaroo court as it used to be under Hasina. Muhammad Yunus and their government has not interfered with even a single day in the police or in the judiciary. Therefore, blaming them right now, I do not think that it is very mature things or that is very honest accusation to blame them.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to come down to that question though.
Okay, well, we
regarding the
have limited
relationship
time,
between-
so please do hurry.
I'll quickly say that, even Mr. Das is a expelled member of ESCOM. Now, some of his terrorist activists even killed an innocent government lawyer, Mr. Alif, in Chittagong. And I'm pretty sure your TRT reporters know about this. Please highlight that point as well later in the program. Now,
I'll tell you what, we're not going to have much time, unfortunately, and I really do need to move on. We're down to our last 4 minutes.
Coming back to the relationship between India and Bangladesh, it is very important relationship. We want to cherish this relationship, but we do not want any relationship that has India upper hand.
Okay.
We want equal partnership. We want eye-to-eye contact, and we want to have excellent relationship with our neighbors. Not only with India, Myanmar, all the countries, neighboring countries.
Okay.
In South Asia.
Then let me ask Shahab if you even think that's possible, to have a truly equal relationship between India and Bangladesh, especially as it stands right now. We have Sheikh Hasina in exile there, and she's actually under the ruling of a government committee, or the recommendation, I should say, of a government committee. They're seeking to extradite her so she can be tried for forced disappearances. What's the likelihood that India is going to extradite Sheikh Hasina, and how much will that actually play into the dynamics of this very important relationship that the new leadership would like to see equalized?
Thank you. I think the main problem is not with Bangladesh at all when it comes to Bangladesh-India relationship. Bangladesh maintains its relationship as it was in a positive note, but this time the narrative has changed. The narrative includes that the relationship has to be on the basis of reciprocity, and there has to be an equal-handedness, and that's very much there. The problem was with Delhi. The fifth evening, they really became quite confused that who should they go back to talk about the diplomatic relationship and the political relationship, because for 15 years they have visibly, tangibly, pragmatically, practically has invested in one political party, labeling the other political parties as the fringe elements or maybe far rightists and so on. So therefore, I think we have a very potent potential to be equal partner in development, equal partner in trade and investment. And I think the legal, and one of the good things about this particular government is its respect for the rule of law. And rule of law must be maintained. And I think our lawyer friends would be much more conversant about it, because the same ICT tribunal and so on were used by the immediate previous government too. So therefore, I think the provisions are there. The relationship has to be fixed from the other side of the border rather than Dhaka, because Dhaka, one has to understand that Dhaka is also in a very fluid situation at the moment. So therefore, it is not a great idea to expect all the solutions from Dhaka right now.
Okay.
So therefore, I think that Indians need to show some sort of maturity when it comes to
I'll tell you
policy.
what, we're down to our last minute, so I'd like to get Monirul's final thoughts here and ask, briefly, where do you see the role of Awami League supporters going into elections in Bangladesh next year?
At the current situation, it is not possible for Bangladesh Awami League to go to the election because the current government is not intend to participate, allow Awami League to participate the election. But if we get the chance, we will participate the election, and we believe we will win because majority of the people with us. But going back to the Indian relationship, as my previous two speaker was speaking on, India is the greatest ally for Bangladesh, and a single country, we trade biggest amount with India, and our whole side is blocked by India except the south. So that's why, if you see that, why the relationship between India and Bangladesh sometime going to be resolved, because the previous government, not the Awami League, before the Awami League, the people, BNP government or Ishraf government, they allowed Indian, people who are in People Party to unrest India using our soil. We know the history. That is the main point. But now the government is again doing the same thing. That's why the relationship between India and Bangladesh is going to be collapsed.
Okay.
This is not about. So what I
Monirul
believe that
Islam,
the current government,
unfortunately, I'm really going to have to cut you off there. We are completely over time, actually, for this edition of the Newsmakers, but I'd really like to thank all three of you for being with us on this incredibly insightful panel, and hopefully we'll be able to discuss this much further in the near future. But for now, thank you so much for joining us, and our viewers, of course, for being with us as well. Remember, you can follow us on X, and do be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea Sankey. We'll see you next time.